Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Migrant Series. And on this series, we feature different immigrants who have come into the UK at different points in time for different reasons and are now thriving and excelling in their careers. And in today's episode, we have someone really special. She's a compliance officer. She works within the financial services. She moved from law to compliance. So that's a lot to unpack and to learn about. And without further ado, we have Ayobami today who is going to be sharing our experience with us. Can you just start off with an introduction of yourself, what you do, and who you are? Who is Ayobami?
Okay, thank you, Favor. Thank you for having me today. I would say, well, my name, Asha said, my name is Ayobami Ashaolu. Uh, I'm a lawyer, foreign qualified lawyer anyways. I got called to the bar in Nigeria in 2021. Currently, I'm working as an assistant compliance manager in a financial services firm. Well, accounting actually. So yes, that's a brief introduction of Ayobami.
Wow, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. I think one major question I always ask people when they come on the channel is why UK? Why did you do a master's in UK as opposed to the countless other locations? How did you end up doing a master's in UK?
Actually, I knew I was going to move to the UK as far back as say 2016. I think I was in 300 level. I've always been a very curious person. I feel, we should always see more than what our immediate environment has to offer. So traveling out for my master's was a no-brainer anyways. And like for instance, just to let you know a bit of how my mind works, because like I said, I'm very curious. We were supposed to do internships in my I think 200 level, 300 level in back in uni, and we're told to go to law firms, and I'm like, why a law firm? Everybody goes to a law firm, and I decided to do my internship in a legal department in a bank instead.
Um,
So I'm sort of like always thinking outside the box, like what else is out there for me than what everybody is doing. So I think it was a no-brainer that wanted to see um what what offers I could get outside my immediate environment. So yes, that was why I decided to study for my master's in the UK.
Before we go further, there's a game that we usually play, and it's not anything serious. It's just this or that. So just answer quick questions, whoever comes to your
Okay,
mind first. And it's
okay.
5 questions actually. So the first question is tea or coffee?
See, any day, anytime. I have one right here.
Okay, so the next question is, would you rather work from home or work from the office?
Hmm. I would rather work from home.
Okay. The next question is meetings or endless emails.
Hmm. Actually, like in my current role, I actually have endless emails, so maybe I'll go with endless meetings.
Okay, that's good. Would you rather a high-paying job with little to no leave versus a moderate to low pay with more leave?
Moderate to low pay with more leave.
So you prefer to have the holidays
Yes,
and
I don't believe in selling your soul for a job.
and this final one is one that has been highly requested and is ChatGPT or Gemini.
Hmm. I'd go with Gemini.
Okay. Now you've
Yeah.
started your master's. How was your experience as an international student? Did you have to work part-time? How was
Hmm.
that balancing work and studying altogether?
Definitely had its own flavor. First off, adjusting to the weather. Yeah, that one took a lot of time. And speaking to people, especially how to dress for the weather. And also, one thing I would say that stands out in my experience was um, the interaction with the teaching faculty here in the UK was very different from back home in Nigeria. They encouraged more open discussions. The lecturers, I mean, they encouraged more open discussions. It was more or less, they invited more questioning. There was a lot of back and forth between students and lecturers. So that was very different for me. But eventually, it became something I really enjoyed about the modules that I I offered back in school. Also, I think the way we were examined was also very different from back home. You know, um, they expect a lot of more critical analysis when you're, doing modules or writing tests or exams, and that sort of like pushed me in many ways. Uh, than I was used to, but it was good. And like you said earlier, did I have to work part time? Yes, I did. I had to work part time to be able to pay my bills, pay my house rents, pay for, transport to school, and also, to eat and flex and enjoy myself. So, yes, overall, it was quite an adjustment, but it was a rewarding one. So, yeah.
Oh wow, that's so interesting to hear. And I can also attest to the experience of the learning, how it was a major culture shock for me having to adapt to the learning method that was being used there. And I think one
Mm-hmm.
thing I also found interesting was how approachable the lecturers were. This, no
Yeah.
matter how many questions, even if you thought it was a ridiculous question, they were always open
Yeah.
to, learning and being responsive altogether. So how did you move from law to compliance, or how did you know you wanted to end up in compliance?
Okay, so to give some sort of like a backstory, I always wanted to do international commercial disputes. So coming into the UK, I studied something in relation to that. I did international commercial law. So which meant that I took some modules that had to do with disputes resolution and all. And my experience back in Nigeria in corporates was in that line, so I sort of felt, because I worked in an arbitral institution back home. So I felt, you know what, to be able to translate the experience I have and my interests, I was looking at law firms that specialized in international disputes. I was looking at arbitral institutions. So I started applying. I think that would be, if I remember very well, that would be February 2023. I came in October 2022, so I started applying in February 2023. And I think my first job would be I think it was either ending of May 2023 or June 2023. I did a couple of interviews here and there, but none actually translated into a job offer. But then I I applied to an arbitral institution. I got it. It was at the International Court of Arbitration at the ICC in Paris, the
Wow.
International Chamber of Commerce. Yes. So it was an arbitral institution, and it meant that I wasn't going to be allowed to work remotely. It meant that I would need to get a visa. So I was going to resume in October, September after I submitted my thesis. So I stopped applying for jobs, and then I I finished my thesis, and then I after I applied for my visa, I was denied. There was
My goodness.
visa constraints, so they withdrew the offer, and I was right back at, like step one, because there was no job offers. Even the ones I had done before, they didn't translate into anything. So there was a lot of pressure, because that was the time we left school. So I needed to do something. I needed to say, okay, what's the next step? And it was almost as if the pressure was showing in my applications, because I'll tell you, I didn't get a single interview. I didn't get a single interview, and I'm like, what exactly is going on? But I think that shifted when I I was going through Instagram one day, and I saw like a boot camp for foreign qualified lawyers in the UK. And I said, that sounds interesting. And then as a curious person that I am, I decided to just say, let's try it out. You never know. So like introduce me to different other areas that, a lawyer can like things a lawyer can do in the UK that I wasn't necessarily looking at. And compliance stood out to me, specifically anti-money laundering. So I felt, okay, yeah, this can be something I can do. So I decided to look at the gap between my current CV and the CV of somebody that would apply for that role. And I started filling in the gaps. I started using industry buzzwords that I would find in job descriptions, started putting it into my CV. I started looking at my transferable skills from my role back in Nigeria and started seeing how I can bring that into like interviews or the jobs I would be interviewing for. So I did like an overhaul of my CV, revamped it. And something about me is that when I'm trying to um, get into a new industry, I follow a lot of people that are already doing what I'm doing. So if I see, oh, you are doing something remotely close to it, I'll eat and follow. What are you doing? How did you get to where you are? So it was a lot of trial and error. But then that was how I got my first role as an AML analyst in financial services.
There's a whole lot of lessons to unpack there and a whole lot to even dive deeper on. For instance, getting a fantastic job offer that you think this is the offer of a lifetime, and then visa constraints holding you back. And then I also love how you mentioned noticing gaps in where you wanted to be and how you then started to fill the gap. So did you have to take any certification?
The boot camp that I did, there are lots of it right now where you would have to pay for somebody to tell you more or less like theoretical in a way. They'll tell you, okay, this is what an anti-money laundering analyst does. But then translating that into a role is like a whole different story entirely. So I can tell you, oh, do boot camps. I know several people that have done boot camps that it necessarily didn't translate into a role because they'll teach you like the theoretical aspects to doing that job, but they won't tell you how to actually you know, get the job. So, like, they'll teach you the technical aspects, but then leave out how to actually translate that into a role. Okay, so I knew I had to revamp my LinkedIn. I also knew that because, like I said, I was very interested in arbitration disputes. So that meant that all the people I was following were arbitral institutions, people that were in that line. So I decided to go online, started following people that had similar interests, people that were already doing what I wanted to do. Number two, I looked at my CV. I decided to fill in the gap. Then I decided to look at my previous experiences. What are the transferable skills that I can bring that are very similar to what I want to do now that I can bring and show like recruiters currently that okay, yeah, I can actually do this if you give me a chance. So those are the um more dramatic things that I can say like I did to secure a role. Yeah.
Or how different was it compared to your background in law? Because those are similar but
Hmm.
different disciplines.
Yeah, so I find that there are a lot of similarities actually, because in my previous job, like I knew I had to be abreast of regulatory changes, and that's also very applicable in financial crime, in compliance. I knew I had to have attention to details, and that's also very, um, very useful in compliance. So I would say if I would say something that shocked me, the fact this would be a joke. It would be the fact that I use more Excel now than I've ever used. So yes, that would be
Oh wow.
something that would be shocking to me.
And that's for a lawyer, those are worlds apart because
Exactly.
Excel is not our tool at
Exactly.
all. So I can imagine.
Exactly. So revamping my LinkedIn meant I don't know how it works. It meant I got offers from recruiters like quite a bit. So there are people that would approach you and say, "Oh, we are recruiting for this role." The roles most times are not even publicly advertised. So they'll say, "Oh, we're looking for somebody. Is this something you'd be open to?" And because I knew I was looking for sponsorship, that was the only thing I was telling them. I'm looking for sponsorship. Or if you know you're going to offer me sponsorship, and you'd find lots of people that are recruiting run away when they just hear that, and they'll be like, we can't offer you sponsorship, and then they exit. And the reason why I stayed that long where I was working previously was because it was something they were going to do. They were willing to do it. It was just that there was no budget. So it was more or less, oh, we'll look at that next year, we'll look at that next month. And then time was going, and I needed to, tell myself, okay, I need some sort of like a backup plan. So it
Mm.
didn't mean that I was shutting down the offers I was getting from recruiters. I was doing interviews, just testing myself out there, putting myself out there, and just going for interviews, having conversations with people. So even while I was getting the work experience, I had it at the back of my mind that, the entire point is to stay in the UK for a longer period. So I needed to get a job that would sponsor me. So.
Wow. Wow, that's so helpful. And there's also a lot to glean from that. I think as we start to wrap up and conclude this video, one question I would also ask is looking back on your journey as someone who's just starting off as well in the UK, what would you say, you wish you had done differently, or what would you tell that person as a one lesson that has stood out in your journey?
I think this might sound funny, but please start applying for jobs as soon as you land. Start applying for jobs as early as possible so that by the time you're finishing, you're not just scrambling for jobs. Because I think the pressure sort of shows when you're interviewing for jobs that like they will offer you the most stupid things and then you'll be saying, okay, no problem. So the pressure actually shows. So when there's not that much pressure, just even if you're not getting anything, just start applying, start interviewing for roles, even if there are roles that they'll tell you, oh, we can't take a student on at the moment. Just see, because what that does for you is it teaches you what the job market is like, the UK job market, I mean, because one of the challenges I faced was not quickly understanding what the UK market was like not knowing that when I'm interviewing, for instance, they will not just ask me technical questions, they will ask behavioral questions. They will
Mm,
put you in situations you might be when you eventually land that role, and they would want to see how you would behave in those like circumstances. So I would have known that earlier if I had started applying earlier. So that's something I would also say students should look out for. Yeah.
wow, thank you so much. And one thing I'm getting is the importance of starting early and also
Yeah.
taking feedback in some sense, because that
Yes.
builds your
Mhm.
confidence and it also
Yeah.
builds your ability to do better in the
Yes.
next interview. Final question would be what resources or websites would you say helped you or worked for you that you would highly recommend as well to someone who is in that phase and journey?
I would say LinkedIn worked a lot for me because there you can make people that are not your mentors indirectly. You can follow people's work on there. Also, if you can, I find that there are a lot of content creators now more than ever. There's someone doing what you want to do and dishing out content relating to it, and you just need to find that person. So from LinkedIn, I found somebody that was even not, I think she worked previously in the UK and she's now back somewhere in Africa, and she had lots of resources on YouTube. I binge watched those videos. So what I would say is like find people that are already doing what you want to do. So LinkedIn would be a good resource. Also, try and sometimes you can do like a mock interview with ChatGPT, for instance, just like it will ask you a question, you can record yourself. So those are one of the, I don't know, resources I would say you can utilize if you're searching for a job. You can also utilize your immediate community. Get people to sit down, do mock interviews with friends, do mock interviews with your sister, do mock interviews with your brother, your husband. Like, just sit them down and tell them, oh, ask me this question, and also respond.
Thank you so, so much. This has been such an insightful session. Even I have learned so much. I've learned to go and revamp my LinkedIn page so I can have recruiters sliding into my DM, even just for the fun of it. So I know that, I'm still hot in the job market. So thank you so, so much. This has been so insightful. Let's know what you learned in the comment section. If you have further questions, please put them in the comment section. Like this video if you haven't. Share with someone who is also transitioning from law to compliance or is also navigating the job market. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Thank you.